Pepper Young's Family. Pepper Young's Family is the true-to-life story of your friends, the Youngs. We'll be with them in just a moment after this message. Kurt Bradley felt rather sorry for himself when he found out he would have to live in Chicago alone, way off from his friends, the Youngs, and from his son, Biff. He thought of all the meals he'd have to eat in the restaurants and the long evenings he'd have to spend alone. But when Kurt got to Chicago, he met Miss Wayne. And life away from Elmwood turned out to be very different from the way he pictured it. Yes, Kurt Bradley never imagined that he'd be planning a visit to Elmwood next weekend with Nancy Wayne, his fiancée. Last night he called the Youngs and asked if Miss Wayne could stay with them. Biff and Mary Young became immediately suspicious of the whole thing. As Biff slowly walks downstairs this morning to join Mrs. Young at the breakfast table, he hardly looks like a carefree high school senior.
Good morning, Mrs. Young.
Why, good morning, Biff. Well, you're up bright and early. Peggy and Pepper aren't even down yet.
Yeah, I didn't sleep so much.
Oh, didn't you, dear? Well, don't you feel well?
Oh, yeah, I felt all right, Mrs. Young, but honest, I'm sunk.
Well, now, you sit right down here and have a cup of coffee and some cereal.
Oh, no, I don't want any cereal, thanks. I'm not very hungry. I don't feel like eating anything. I don't feel like, any food at all, Mrs. Young.
Oh, dear. What's the matter?
Well, I don't know. I couldn't sleep all night thinking about Dad and thinking about everything, I guess.
Well, now, you're not to get all upset. My husband tells me that I'm much too hasty and that I've jumped to conclusions, and he may be right. Your father may be just coming here for a weekend with a young lady who may have some reason for being in Elmwood.
Oh, you know as well as I do, Mrs. Young, that isn't the case at all. There's no use in pretending. See, this thing is so serious. It's bound to be.
Well, even if it is serious, as you put it, Biff, she must be a very nice young woman from what Mr. Young says.
Oh, yeah, I know all that. She may be tops, but somehow it leaves me out on a limb, Mrs. Young. I mean, if Dad gets married again.
Well, I suppose it does in a way, Biff, but after all, as my husband pointed out to me, you're going to lead your own life more and more. Your father's bound to be lonely. After all, if he's found somebody he thinks is a good companion...
Oh, but Mrs. Young, I haven't any idea of leading my own life. Not for a long time to come. Well, I may not have wanted to go to Chicago. I guess that's natural when you're all wound up about a girl, but I wanted to go eventually. I want to spend all the time I can with Dad. It means everything to me, Mrs. Young. Our being together, our being pals with friends.
I know it does, Biff.
And I keep blaming myself for not going right away when Dad first asked me. I should have gone when he went, no matter what. If I'd been there, this wouldn't have happened.
Well, you don't know that, Biff. Things happen sometimes. Particularly when two people are attracted to each other.
No, it wouldn't have happened if I'd been there. You see, Dad and I would have gone to ball games and movies and all the rest of it, and, well, he wouldn't have been so lonesome. That's what happened. He got lonesome going home from the office every night and sitting around in a hotel room.
Well, yes, that isn't exactly the kind of a life your father's been used to.
Well, that's where I come in, you see, Mrs. Young? That's why I blame myself so much. I ought to have been there no matter what.
Well, you couldn't very well, Biff. Remember your father wanted to get settled and then look around and find out how things were going before he sent for you.
Yeah, but Dad's funny. He likes to talk to somebody, see, and I knew that. He likes to sit up half the night talking about this and that. Gee, we never used to go to bed.
Oh, Biff, now, come on.
No, Mrs. Young, I sort of look forward to having Dad to myself, to talk things over with him for years. Well, I knew I'd go off the handle about a girl every once in a while. Well, everybody does, but it's Dad's and my companionship that meant everything, really. The fact that I could go to him about anything, that I could talk to him about anything, and that he could talk to me about anything, that's what I was sort of looking forward to for the next few years.
Well, Biff, dear, there's no reason why you shouldn't have your father's companionship always.
Not if she's around. Not if she comes between us.
Nonsense. Your father will be just as ready to talk to you. You'll have just as much fun as you...
You know that isn't true, Mrs. Young. You know it won't be the same if he's married to somebody. If he's in love with somebody.
No, Biff, I don't suppose it will, but perhaps it's just as well. Perhaps it's not a good idea for both of you to rely so much on one another. Maybe better for you to be on your own a little more, and maybe it's better for your father to find somebody who he thinks is going to make him happy. And believe me, Biff, if she isn't the right girl, he'll hear from me on the subject.
We'll be back with the Youngs in a moment after this message.
Mrs. Young, I know you're going to be easy on Dad. You and Mr. Young are so crazy about him, and you think if he's picked out somebody, she's probably got a lot on the ball. Well, she may have, too. Oh, gee, Mrs. Young, Dad and I had a different kind of relationship than anybody else. You remember when my mother came over here and wanted me to go back to England with her?
Oh, I remember very well.
Well, that was tough. I mean, she was also attractive, and she made it mighty nice for me. She wanted me to have everything. To give up living with Dad and go back there and have anything I wanted there in England.
I know. And you didn't go?
No, but later on when Dad disappeared and we didn't know what happened to him for a long time, I did get to know her, and, well, I got to like her a lot, Mrs. Young.
Biff, what are you trying to say? That you'd like to go back there and stay with her if your father married?
Oh, gee, I don't know, Mrs. Young. I sort of feel lost. Suspended in midair, sort of between two things. I don't know where I belong or what I ought to do. I somehow feel that it might be nice to spend a few years with her wherever she is, now that Dad doesn't need me anymore.
Why, Biff, I think your father does need you. That's where I differ with you. I think your father will always need you. Well, to make his life perfect, he'd have to have you in it, too.
But suppose I don't get on with this thing. Whoever she is. And suppose she doesn't cotton to me. I am not going to like her, Mrs. Young. I might as well admit it. I'm not going to like anything about her. I don't like the way she's gone at getting Dad when he was on the loose like that, when he was alone.
No, Biff, I felt the way you do last night, but I'm not sure I feel so strongly that way this morning after talking to my husband. You know, he has such sound ideas, and he makes you understand that there are other points of view besides your own.
Yeah, but it's like you said, Mrs. Young. If she's one of those women that just want a man to support her...
Oh, no. She has a job, Biff. She works in the office, too. And my husband seems to think she'll keep on working.
Well, I don't believe it for a minute. I believe she'll settle down like a millstone around his neck.
Now, Biff, we can't tell till we meet her. Now, can we?
Oh, no, I suppose not. She's not very old. Mr. Young said that...
No, she's not very old.
Oh, I don't know, but... Suppose they have kids.
Well, suppose they did, Biff.
But I don't want them to have any other kids but me, Mrs. Young. I don't mind her so much. Oh, yes, I do, too. I'm running like a deuce. But I'd mind terribly if he had other kids. If he had another son and he liked him. If he liked him better than he likes me.
Biff, he'd never like anybody better than he likes you. You know that.
Well, I'd mind if he liked him as well as he likes me. I'd mind if he liked him at all, Mrs. Young. I don't want anybody else to be my father's son but me. I don't for a fact. I'd resent it plenty. Suppose all the interest got centered around a little baby they might have, and I'd just be on the outside looking in. How do you suppose I'd feel then?
If you'd feel like a lot of other boys who have met the same situation. You see, dear, your father has a right to marry again if he wants to. He has a right to have children, too.
Well, I won't stand for it, see? I just won't, that's all.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell her where she gets off, and I'll raise such a row that Dad won't marry her because he knows he won't have any peace with me. I won't stand having another family and other kids and leaving me out in the limit. Oh, see Mrs. Young.
Dear. Look, dear, aren't we crossing the bridge before we get to it? Don't you think you might just wait and see what your father has to say and what the ladies like before you make a decision?
Oh, gee, Mrs. Young, what do people have kids for if they don't care about them? They leave them out in the limb if they don't want them anymore.
And Mrs. Young wonders what more she can say to reassure Biff. She knows Kurt Bradley so well. She's just positive he'll always want his son. But she doesn't know Nancy Wayne. And now a message from our sponsors. Next time, the Free Press will have some startling news for Elmwood. Be sure to join us on Pepper Young's Family. John Scott speaking. Pepper Young's Family is a modern drama production.